last year in Rio. But with that, we'll pause the conversation as we finally get underway in this session. We do have the first snatch of the session, the men's 69 kilogram Bs coming up. It will be Sempereza of Uganda, opening at 108 kilograms.
Really always very impressed at the representation weightlifting has internationally. All the different countries. Just makes me really happy as a competitor to take part in that.
All right, pretty good looking opener.
Pretty solid, Getting the jitters out, you know. He's going to come out and absolutely smash with authority that second attempt.
Now, I couldn't find too much. We do, let's check out the replay here. You'll see, and while we're watching that, we tend to do pretty in-depth research for these sessions beforehand to see what the lifters have done before, check out their competition history. Didn't find too much on Sempereza of Uganda. The heaviest we've seen him go in international competition previously that we know of was 100 kilograms at the 2015 African Junior Championship. So with that, that's the heaviest we've seen him go on the international stage.
Excellent. Well, that's a solid opener, and I like the replay a lot. He's got a really wide grip on that barbell. You know, the long arms, but the guys with the long arms and long legs often can be quite good at the snatch if they get their levers working properly.
A little tougher on the jerk if you've got those long arms.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see the different techniques that are employed to get around some of these different body types that we have, that we're seeing. But yeah, the opening attempts are usually, well, for me anyway, and a lot of athletes, they come out on the stage. It's about sort of getting oriented, looking up when you lift. You got to find your horizon line or wherever you look. So it could be disorienting. To come out there for the first attempt. So sometimes it's about getting the jitters out and just falling into the groove.
You know, especially in an international competition like this where lifters are up on a stage, they're in a large competition hall, it might be very different than what they're used to lifting locally, regionally, or even nationally, where the platform might be on the floor. They might be able to kind of look out at the top of someone's head in the audience to kind of orient themselves.
Correct.
They're at a different elevation. It takes some getting used to.
Right, and there's a lot of lights in your face. You're looking out into the audience. You're not seeing individuals, and it's sort of like an abyss in a giant hall like this. So let's see how he does this second attempt.
He's gone up 3 kilograms, falling himself. Looks like he will probably be taking all 3 of his openers before we see another lifter take the stage. So let's see how he can do on his second attempt here. He looked a little tentative on his first.
He did. I think he was just, like I said, just kind of feeling it out. And that barbell, when you get on the stage and you're standing in front of everybody, that weight feels different. You know, oftentimes it feels lighter.
One would hope.
One would hope. Good, nice pull, nice aggressive pull, a little bit more speed coming from the hips, and yeah, better than the first one, I agree.
we have a really good vantage point to hear his coaches. Let's check out the replay here. He did make a correction. He kind of rocked back in that snatch, a little bit on his heels, which you might see right there. Yeah, you can see the toes come up, but
just a bit. He was able to hang on to it. Sometimes you got to sit in the bottom, just kind of break that inertia, get the barbell back into the slot, flat feet, and then recover.
So he will be following himself. We do have another 2-minute clock, which gives us a little time to talk about something else. And I'm actually thrilled that we have this opportunity to pick Cheryl's brain. It's not often that I get to it's not often that I get to talk with a multi-time Olympian, and being able to do so on the stream, it gives you a perspective on weightlifting. You know, as I knew it, and as a lot of the viewers at home know it, is fun from the amateur perspective. We do compete, we love competing, but it almost becomes a different sport on the international stage. The timing is different. The strategy is different. There are a lot more layers of strategy. The role of the coach evolves a lot.
So important. And I was very, very fortunate to work with some amazing coaches in my history of USA weightlifting, where as an athlete, I can't tell you how important it is for this gentleman basically to sit down, clear his mind, and not worry about what's on the bar, and having absolute trust in your coach that he or she has made the correct call with the weight, and so that you can focus exclusively on picking that weight up and just making your lifts. I would get a bit irritated if a coach was like, well, what do you want to do next? Hey, no, don't ask me what I want to do next. What do I need to do next?
My job is to go lift the weight.
Yeah, you figure that out. You put it on the bar, and I'll go out there and I'll give it my 100% all.
Well,
And super important, super important.
speaking of that, we do have Pereza coming out for his third final attempt in the snatch. 114 kilograms on the bar. He's looked progressively better so far in his attempts. So,
do we know what his PRs are, David?
well, like I said, the most we've seen him do in international competition that we could find was 100 kilograms 2 years ago as a junior. So no longer a junior. I believe this is his first Worlds, though. So everything we're seeing,
Right.
technically a Worlds PR.
Oh, just a little bit behind him that time. Wasn't able to pull it back, but good attempt. He's gonna make that next time. He's smiling. That indicates to me that he maybe never even attempted that weight before, and sort of a little surprised at how easy it felt. So he's gonna go back to training, and he's gonna manhandle that.
Well, I mean, you know, if his first Worlds going 2 for 3 in the snatch, having to open the session and also follow yourself,
Yeah.
kind of gives it an added challenge. So, you know,
Yeah.
I'm sure he and his coaches are probably pretty happy with that performance
Oh,
so
yeah.
far on the day.
Yeah, because there's no guarantees. I mean, you work with an athlete, and you go to a competition, and sometimes it's completely different. You know, so the ability to compete well is obviously a really, really important attribute to have.
All right, well, his countryman will be the next lifter. Charles Sekaya, also of Uganda, opening at 117. Looks like today they're getting some coaching help from a few noted American coaches, which I'll mention after this lift. Great speed.
So fast, so fast. Not quite technically as proficient as his teammate, but you can tell by that speed and that power that just absolutely just raw power and strength that this guy has. Just throwing that around like it's no weight on the bar, and I'm continually impressed, David. This is the lighter weight class, especially from a super heavyweight's perspective, because I get to weigh whatever I want to weigh. So watching these men and women who are of the lighter body weights lift 2 and almost 3 times their body weight is absolutely fascinating to me. I mean, I know the supers, we lift the most, but the idea of doing a double body weight clean and jerk or snatch or anything of the like just is, I can't wrap my head around it. And I was a weightlifter. Like, I understand how it works and everything, but it's just never not impressive to me.
You know, yesterday we saw maybe some of the added challenge of these lifters in the lighter body weight categories, especially having to go through weight cuts. We saw yesterday in the men's 56 kilogram A session, a lot of missed lifts, a few bomb outs, and you have to think, A, it's tough being in the first A session of a competition because the crowd kind of fills in,
Right.
the lights are bright, pardon me, but a lot of these lifters have had to cut a significant amount of body weight.
Correct.
And that creates a lot of variance in how you feel. You know,
Yeah.
if you don't have to cut body weight, your diet and nutrition and hydration leading up to a competition can be kind of consistent as you would normally train. But if you have to cut those few kilos, things change. You feel different. The weight feels different.
Absolutely, absolutely. And weightlifters are pretty true to their weight classes, so it's very unlike wrestling and boxing and some other weight class sports where they will weigh in 24 hours prior and literally be 10, 15 kilos difference from the weigh-in to when they compete, where weightlifting, we weigh in about 2 hours prior to the competition. So you can't really cut dramatic amounts of weight, not if you want to stay consistent.
Yeah.
The snatch is a lift during which you can get away with the cutting of the weight. The clean and jerk, that's when it really shows. You really see if somebody struggled to make their weight class, because the legs, the power in the legs completely disappears.
Right. The snatch, obviously, the more technically demanding
Correct.
lift.
Yeah, so as long as you adhere to your technique, because relative to the pulling and the squatting and the clean and jerking, the snatch weight is not heavy. It's just if you can adhere to your technique, be fast, you usually can get away with a lot.
All right. Sakaya, second attempt, 122. 5 kilo jump, which is a pretty healthy jump here on the international stage.
It is. It is. Must feel confident with this weight, based on the first one.
Loses it behind. We'll check it on the replay. I wonder if he might have looped that a little coming off the hips or something.
Yeah.
I know he's getting some coaching help today by Kevin Doherty of Team USA, so I'm sure he's going to get some pointers from his coach, come out and attempt to make that correction.
Get a little bit of encouragement. Could be something that he does routinely in the gym. Everybody, each lifter, even at this high level, they're gonna have something that is unique to them that they have to continually remind themselves about, and and just not forget to be technically proficient. I mean, that's what it's all about. You really keep one thing in your mind. It's really hard to think about too many things. Your mind literally will go blank. But I always had, if I could keep my hips down, keep the bar close to me, I was usually pretty good to go. And those are my cues.
Folks, what we're seeing right now is we are seeing these first two lifters following themselves in all their lifts, and that puts 2 minutes on the clock. A little later on in the session, we're going to see the pace pick up a bit, because what's going to happen is you're going to have lifters who are not necessarily following themselves. It's just a 1 minute clock between lifters in. So it seems like things are moving maybe a tiny bit slow right now. That's okay. It will pick up a little bit. Not a huge session. Just 9 lifters. When we commentate on national sessions, we'll see up to 15, 16 lifters in a session.
Yeah, gets quite busy.
That gets quite busy. Yeah. Come on. All right, third and final attempt here. Sticking at 122, which I think is probably the right call here.
Yeah, of course, of course. You just got to remind himself not to get too excited. Take his time from the floor. You know what, I think perhaps what that looks like, the first one he lost it behind him. Of course, he lost this behind him as well, but it looked to me that he was a bit less aggressive on that second pull as a result of that second miss. So he was not as aggressive as he needed to be.
Well, he is on the board. He will be credited with his opener at 117, so you do want to see a lifter come out. This is like his teammate, this is his first World Championships, so great to see him come out. Definitely have a chance at a total, and with that, it'll bring up Herrera of Ecuador, opening at 124.
I competed with a particular one. A little bit rushing there, a little bit forward.
And I want to say that we know this is certainly in Herrera's wheelhouse. At the Pan American Games last year, which was prior to the 2016 Rio Olympics, we saw him snatch 130 kilograms in this bodyweight category. So a weight range right now he's used to. I think that one, just a little bit out in front of him.
Yeah.
The placement, the strength, the speed, it's there.
Right.
Just has to come out and actually nail that in the right position.
And sometimes it will feel so good that the rhythm gets a little bit messed up. So you're pulling from the floor, you're excited to be here, you got that little adrenaline boost from standing out there on that stage with all those eyeballs and cameras on you. And you move quickly. Sometimes you move more quickly than you think, and you really lose that time in getting into the hip. So I think maybe that's what he did here. You can tell he's a bit frustrated with himself because it's clearly lightweight for him.
Certainly.
And the 2 minute clock can be, nerve-rattling too, because he literally wants to just get up and go out there and try it again. But you also have to allow yourself to take those 2 minutes. And the clean and jerk, I always, if I had a 2-minute clock, I'd always want a little bit more time. But in the snatch, the building we're in right now is quite cool, so you feel like you just want to keep moving. But you have to be patient, kind of just let it digest, give yourself a little pep talk, and use the time you have on the stage too. No need to rush up to the bar, just grab it and go.
All right, second attempt for Herrera, 24. Needs to make this.
Much better. Still a bit forward, but much, much better attempt.
We could see on the replay he drops that barbell, kind of shaking his head like, why didn't I do that the first time? And
right.
We have seen quite a few lifters this weekend with that expression after a successful second attempt after missing their first. Clearly not away the challenges him that much.
Right, right. And it's really, and coming from somebody who has missed many opening attempts, well, I wouldn't say many, but I definitely had my share in there. It's so important strategically, especially if you start getting into going back and forth and medal contention and really fighting for certain spots on the podium. You gotta lock in that opener. It's critical.
All right, this will bring up Torones of Peru, his opener at 125, which is the heaviest we've seen him do in international competition. Actually, we saw him do that 2 years ago.
Training's been going well.
Yeah. All right, I wouldn't say that looked easy, but he is on the board. Torones is one of 2 junior lifters that we have in this session. Birth year of 1998, so still another year of junior eligibility. And opening
makes me feel a little bit old, you know? Just a little bit.
You and me both. Okay, see the replay there. And you know, that is the heaviest we've ever seen him go internationally. So opening on an international competition PR, we haven't seen him compete internationally for about 2 years, at least not that I was able to find. So that is a good sign that training is going in the right direction.
Right, right. And psychologically, weightlifting is a sport that is a large part of it is simply believing that you can do something. And maintaining that confidence throughout the competition and throughout training, really. If ever there was a time where I would approach the bar and that little voice in the back of my head is saying, you don't want to do this. Every once in a while, I could talk myself back into, yes, you have this, let's do it. And I'm talking that short amount of time that it takes to chalk up and walk to the bar. I'm having these conversations with myself. But it's really hard psychologically to climb back out of that hole. So you got to maintain your confidence. You have to continually talk to yourself, tell yourself you can do it.
All right, Herrera's third and final attempt, 128. Lifter out of Ecuador.
Oh, hold.
Really used all that platform, but he'll get it.
You know what? I don't recommend that. Particularly in the snatch with that wide grip running forward with that bar. It did not work out for me in 2003. I actually managed to blow my elbow out doing that sort of thing. So it always makes me a bit nervous when I see this. And it was actually about 1 kilo more than that. So I have flashbacks when somebody's snatching 130 kilos and they're running forward like that. But that was a good attempt, and he'll clearly go up.
Oh, that was actually his last attempt, actually, so he'll be credited with 128. Yep. We'll see him back out for the clean and jerks a little bit later. This will be Torones of Peru. 129 on the barbell. This would be an international comp PR for him. Looked even better than his first
pretty
attempt.
Pretty solid. Gotta be happy with that.
He has 1 more attempt left, 2 for 2 so far. Always a good place to be in. Let's check out the replay here. Straight up, straight down. Doesn't have to chase it forward.
Right.
All right, and with that, we will bring out the opening attempt for Peter Petrov of the Czech Republic. Now, Petrov is a lifter who to say he is a veteran on the international stage would be a bit of an understatement. We actually have him. Oh, no, sorry, we do have a change. My apologies. The lift will become, I'll do Halib of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, opening at 131 kilograms. So we will see Petrov either right after this or a few lifters later.
Yeah, a lot of jostling around this competition. You see the next 5 lifters in very, very similar weights, opening weights in the snatch. So I imagine a lot of lifters are going to be called and then sat back down, and the numbers are going to bump.
All right, good-looking opener for the lifter from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We have seen him go as heavy as 137 kilograms in competition, which he did earlier this year, actually just back in September at, I believe it was the Asian Indoors in Ashgabat, Turkmenistan.
The World Championships next year are in Turkmenistan, I understand.
That's correct. That was recently announced by the International Weightlifting Federation. I believe they'll also be in Ashgabat. We have. I was talking to USA Weightlifting CEO Phil Andrews yesterday. Asked if he was disappointed they weren't going for the three-peat of having 3 in a row in the U.S. He kind of laughed and said, "I need a break." No, but next year it'll be.
Oh man, these USA Weightlifting and Phil and these guys running around, and what an incredible effort it is to put on an event like this. And I have to commend everybody doing such an amazing job.
All right, lifters Jiram of Thailand.
Just a little overpull on that. Again, super, super easy. Bars flying up in the air. Just got to rein in those jitters. And it really is about that on the opening attempt. Sometimes I almost dismiss the opening attempt miss for the simple fact that I know how these people are feeling right now. So the second attempt, he's going to come out here and settle in.
He's the only youth lifter we have in this session actually, birth year
Right.
of 2000. Does have some experience on the international stage, but the heaviest we've ever seen him snatch is 127 kilograms, which he did a little bit earlier this year at a competition in Kathmandu, Nepal. So, with these youth lifters, you will see them open with PRs in international competition.
Right.
They're still getting those youth gains from competition
Right.
to competition.
Right, he's still growing, he's still growing. I mean, a lot of these youth lifters will be in heavier weight classes too from year to year, just the development and getting the musculature and everything like that. And it's really fun to watch their development too as athletes and watch them sort of become who they are.
All right, well, he will be going up, it seems, by at least a kilogram, which means the lifter will become Castro of Spain. And Castro is a lifter we have seen on the international stage dating back to 2008. This is not his first World Championships. He has competed in 2015 at the Houston World Championships, in 2014 at the World Championships in Almaty, Kazakhstan. So certainly a lifter with a lot of relevant experience on the international stage.
Yeah, it makes a difference. Makes a difference. For example, a lifter who has not competed often at this level and this is an opening attempt, it could be all downhill from there. A lifter who goes, oh, it's okay, just getting a little nervous, going to go back out there and do my thing. So it matters. It matters. You got to learn yourself too in the process. Super easy.
Super easy looking opener. Now, his best ever performance on the international stage was at the 2014 World Championships in Almaty. He snatched 140 kilograms, clean and jerked 163 kilograms, was 6 for 6 on the day there.
Wow.
So,
So he knows how to compete.
Yeah.
Confident guy. Good.
Had a pretty good European Championships earlier this year in Split, Croatia. Had a 300 kilo total there, 138 and 162 on a 5 for 6 performance. So pretty good year competing so far. I'm sure he's hoping to keep that momentum going.
Right. Again, it's about confidence and momentum. That makes a difference leading into a competition like this.
lift for Peter Petrov of the Czech Republic, a lifter who is known for being a bit more proficient in the clean and jerk than on the snatch. It kind of tends to be where he makes up a lot of ground in competitions.
Right, right. And the truly good, successful, now on that replay, it looks like sometimes I can tell if my athletes are going to be successful before they even get to their knees. On that one, he looked like he just got a little bit forward and didn't wait on that first pull to set up the second pull. So he's got to be a little bit more patient on the first pull so that he can be successful on his next attempt.
All right, this will bring back up Jiram of Thailand, 132 kilograms on the barbell. He went up a kilo to give himself a little more rest after missing his first attempt. Youth lifter. Well, missed his first one behind, missed his second one in front.
That is classic, absolutely classic. I see it dozens and dozens of times. The overpull, the excitement on the first attempt, you lose it behind you. He's determined not to make that mistake, and he actually underpulls. And almost always the third attempt is exactly where one wants it. So let's hope that's the case.
All right, this is that'll bring back up Petrov of the Czech Republic, who missed his opening snatch. Very similar thing, kind of missed in the same fashion, a little bit out front. That's actually pretty uncharacteristic of him. You have to go back to 2015, and he's competed to the 2015 World Championships in Houston to find an instance where he missed an opening attempt snatch.
He still looks a bit forward.
Yeah.
The first pull is really, I tell my athletes to slow down. I mean, there really isn't much, at a certain level anyway, not much correlation between how fast you're coming from the floor and whether or not the attempt is successful. The first pull is really just about getting the bar into the wheelhouse, into your hips, so that you can set up the second pull, and he's not doing that. He's just rushing the first pull.
All right, and this will be a do-or-die situation for Jiram of Thailand. He has missed his opening 2 attempts. In order for to have a chance to post a total, he needs to make this lift.
Let's see if my theory is correct, David, and this one will be perfect. Look at that.
You know, Cheryl, it's almost like you've seen this before a couple of times. And you are entirely correct. Misses first behind, his second in front, right in the groove there on that third attempt.
That's exactly what his coach told him when he came off the stage in the second attempt. Is don't be soft. So you wanna avoid throwing the bar behind you. So you give a little less power, and then what happens is you miss it forward. But he made the correction. He got his head back together, and that's how you do it. That was a great snatch.
And in a similar position is Peter Petrov of the Czech Republic. Has missed his first 2 attempts in front of him. Needs to make this in order to post a total.
Let's see if he can wait on that first pull. Not bad. Maybe a little elbow wiggle, but I imagine that's, yeah, there you go.
3 white lines. Yeah, I might have seen, yeah, there might have been just a
bit. I mean,
tiny bit, but
yeah.
nothing the judges were going to call that a bad lift for.
Yeah, and that one of those situations where it could have been just a little bit of shoulder movement too. So a lot better, a lot better. Never want to see anybody bomb out. Well, unless they're my direct competitor, then I really love it when that happens. But as a spectator, I always want to see somebody at least make one of their lifts, and very, very happy that he was able to lock that in.
All right, now this will bring up Terrones of Peru. It's been a bit since we've seen him, and this is another layer on the international stage that makes it difficult competing. Sometimes you have to wait quite a bit of time between attempts, depending on what other competitors are taking.
Yeah, you do. You do. You got to maintain your focus and not let it distract you.
Kind of rushed that one a little bit. Maybe tried to sneak under the barbell.
Yeah, did not finish that pull at all. And you can tell when he's receiving the bar, even on his successful attempts, he has a little bit of asymmetry there. So he probably fights that bottom position in the snatch often, especially when the weight gets really heavy. I mean, and again, these guys are 69 kilos. I mean, this is a lot of weight, so there's not a lot of room for error on a lift like this.
And folks, we are entering the last third of our snatches here at the in the men's 69 kilogram B session of the 2017 IWF World Championships. After this portion of the event, we'll take a 10-minute break and we'll come back for the clean and jerks. All right, we have the second attempt for Aldu Halib of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Trying to recall what his first attempt looked like. It looked like maybe he wasn't quite set over that bar, hips a little high, everything went a little bit forward.
Well, we have a good side view here on this replay, so let's see if we can spot that.
Which is really helpful too, looking at a lifter head on. Well, no, I don't know. That first pull looked okay. Kind of just let the bar away from him maybe on the second pull.
Yeah, I wonder if he kind of jumped back maybe a little bit too much
Right.
there.
Right.
Which is not always a bad thing. You do see some lifters jump
course.
backwards. Some of them following the natural turnover of the barbell as they turn the barbell overhead. But the thing you can't do is push yourself back when the barbell stays in that same way. That's a recipe for a mislift.
You must take the barbell with you if you're gonna jump back. Jumping out from under the bar, and that's a very valid point, David. Now that I think about it, he looks like he sort of disengaged with the bar. It's really important to keep the shoulders over the bar. You get out from behind the bar and you kind of lose all your power, and then you're kind of just leaning into it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
The old pull and pray.
Right, pull and pray, and he's just got to maintain his form on the way up so that he can remain engaged with the barbell.
And again, if you're just tuning in, we will be taking a short break. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lifts yet to come in this men's 69 kilogram B session. We will be coming back with the clean and jerks after a 10-minute break after our final snatch here. And this is an especially exciting session to tune into if you want some perspective on what it's like to compete on the international stage, because I am fortunately joined by 3-time Olympian and almost countless-time world's competitor, Cheryl Hayworth.
It's great to be here. This just makes me want to compete all over again. It's an honor to be able to partake in an event like this and not worry about having to participate at the end of the week.
Hey, it can be exhausting about talking about lifting weights.
You know what? We'll see. We'll see. So far, I got all the energy in the world.
All right, a little bit of a fight there, has to chase it forward, but that will be a good third attempt. So
he's able to lock it in.
Makes a correction. Great to see him come back and make that. And we only have 2 lifters left in the session.
Really interested to see Brandhuber come out, the German competitor. He's going to be coming out here shortly for his first attempt.
Brandhuber is a competitor who we have seen. Now, Castro is next up, but Brandhuber is the only competitor we haven't seen who does have international competition experience dating back to 2006, so has certainly had plenty of time and experience on the international platform. All right, Castro's second attempt. Lifter out of Spain. Again, kind of seemed to rush that one a little bit.
Yeah, and again, the three-quarter view from the side, the replay, is really helpful. Sometimes it's really hard to tell exactly what went wrong from that first angle. Let's see here.
I don't think he ever really got to full extension there.
Yeah, and he might have backed away a little bit, like we were talking before, kind of disengaging with the barbell a little bit, kind of extending instead of coming vertical, coming up and back. And a lot of athletes come up and back. So that's not quite unusual, but if it's unusual for him, he just sucked all the power out of that second pull. So Maybe that's what his coach is telling him right now. Come up and not back. That's what I'd be doing. Certainly got the strength, and sometimes you can tell when an athlete comes out and it's just too heavy. You know, this is a very high level competition, and the efficiency is rather good. So sometimes it's just a matter of it being too heavy, but that is not the case with this gentleman. He's got a lot in the tank as far as strength goes. He's just got to be mindful of his technique.
And there are a number of factors that could contribute to someone feeling off, timing, rhythm, or strength. I mean, most of these athletes have traveled a long distance to be here this week in Anaheim.
Right, and that does make a difference.
And cutting weight while traveling might be one of the most difficult things an athlete can do.
I would give my teammates who are cutting weight a very wide berth and just be just as sweet as pie to them, because I could only imagine. I really made me sad and guilty at the same time while I was eating all the snacks in the room.
Well, that way they weren't. You were doing them a favor.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I like that logic. You're welcome, everybody. Oh, man.
Similar thing with this.
Very similar thing. Very similar thing. But, well, he'll regroup for the clean and jerk, obviously.
And with that, we
very
have...
disappointed in that. You can see it in his face.
Yeah, let's check out the replay here. I think we'll probably see a similar issue.
Yeah, just got away from him a little bit. Just got away from him a little bit.
And with that, we will bring up the final lifter of the session. That will be Brandhuber of Germany. He has all 3 attempts remaining. So he will, of course, be following himself. Got to have some 2-minute clocks.
Right, which can be an advantage. Some athletes don't mind it, whereas some athletes respond really poorly and they kind of psych themselves out a little bit. But he seems to be used to this position.
He's got quite a bit of experience.
Yeah, experienced athlete, so he's gonna utilize all his time and hopefully make 3 successful attempts here. Very easy.
Well, that's the best way to start.
Right. Great job. And like we were talking about before, that last missed lift, the snatch, it's very technical, obviously, and you can get away with a lot if you're not feeling strong for the day. But an inch here, an inch there, sometimes I'm at a loss for why an athlete has missed an attempt, just because the naked eye, it's hard to pick up on some of those things sometimes. So just an inch forward, or maybe loaded at a different part of the foot, can really make or break a snatch.
All right, well, he will be following himself. And again, folks, after this, we will take a 10-minute break. We will come back with the clean and jerk portion. This is the only session today that will be live streamed on usaweightlifting.org to American viewers. Now, internationally, it gets a little complicated. There are television rights, and we have a few different broadcasters participating. But American viewers can, if you're watching from the United States, can watch the sessions later today on ESPN3. Internationally, it gets like I said, it gets a little more complicated. But if you'd like a list of international broadcasters,
glad you're a smart guy, because I don't even want to get into that right now. I'll let you deal with that, David.
If you're watching internationally, both usaweightlifting.org and barbend.com, the official media partner of USA Weightlifting, have articles that list the international broadcasters and schedules, so you'll be able to figure that out and make sure that you have an opportunity to watch. Now, if you are in a territory where there is not an international broadcaster, this will still be streamed on usaweightlifting.org, but it is geo-blocked for certain territories where there are existing broadcast rights in play. So I know that sounds complicated, but head on over to usaweightlifting.org or head on over to barbend.com, and it is explained.
You could have waited for me to finish my coffee before explaining that, because I feel like my head's going to explode.
All right, and we do have a weight change, going up 4 kilos for Brandhuber of Germany. I believe he will be taking this.
She's a confident jump.
And he looks confident. He's a confident lifter. He's walking out, lats flared. He's ready to go.
He's ready to go.
That's his platform.
Yep, this is not his first rodeo, so he's ready to do what he came here for.
this is toward the heavier we've seen him lift at this body weight category. This actually might be a comp, as far as we know, a comp PR
Yeah,
for
I
him
was
at
just
this weight class.
thinking that same thing. It looks based on his numbers. Maybe this is up there close to his PR, if not a PR. Nice. Very nice.
Well, that's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
And of course, this is the B session. However, lifters will be ranked overall between the B and A sessions. It is a pretty competitive men's A session here in the 69 kilogram category, so not unheard of to see lifters medaling or even winning out of a B group. I'm not sure we're going to see that this weight class this weekend, and one of the reasons for that is there happens to be an American in the 69 kilogram category who is pretty strong and might be looking to end that world championship drought, Cheryl, and that is CJ Cummings, who will lift in the men's 69
Yeah, talk about a competitor and somebody who has international experience. Now, these lifters who are youth lifters and junior lifters and also able to compete at the senior international level, meaning basically open against everybody, the best of the best, that gives CJ an extreme amount of high-level competitive experience. When I was competing at the junior nationals, the junior worlds, the senior nationals, the senior worlds. So if your teammates aren't also juniors, they're competing half as much as you are. So that additional international experience, being on a stage like this, is going to work to CJ's advantage. And yeah, not get flustered at all.
And something that you and CJ have in common, you are both current youth world record holders.
Yeah, I was sitting in my flat in Hong Kong eating some like takeaway sushi, and my phone started kind of going crazy, social media, you know, and I took a look and I was like, oh, I have a world record. That's cool.
And if you want to give folks a little bit of a background as to how that occurred.
Right, for sure. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Maybe I should go ahead and say that. Well. Focus on this last attempt, though.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about that during the future portion. Sorry about that, folks. We just had a little bit of feedback on some of our mics. We do have multiple mics getting ambient noise, noise from the coaches and the lifters on the platform and back here. So if you hear a little bit of buzzing, stick around. It'll normally subside after a couple of seconds.
That's okay. I'm totally into the snatch right now. I lost my train of thought because I really want this guy to smash this.
Last lift of the session. After this, we'll have a 10-minute break.
And he's telling himself right now that he can do this. Oh, there you go.
And
oh
no! Oh, you hate to see that. It looks like. Oh, well.
That is a difficult thing.
Yeah.
To witness. That's unfortunate, and you see that sometimes with a lifter in celebration or this, that, and the other thing, and they just lose control of the barbell.
Yeah, and what happened there, folks, is it looked like he had overhead, was celebrating, but he ended up losing some core stability, dropped the barbell behind, and that actually is a no lift. You must release the barbell in front of you.
Right. You gotta maintain control of the barbell, and you gotta put it down in front of you when the judges give you the signal. Well. It was a good snatch, so he's got that going for him, but he's going to be beating himself up about that for a long time to come, I tell you that.
Well, folks, that is the snatch portion of the men's 69 kilogram B session here at the 20. Route might be ending this week. We have yet to see, but
I'm really hoping so. I want to see one of our USA members who work really hard and have been doing amazing things up on that podium.
All right, well,
I speak for everybody when I say that.
No Americans in this session, but we do have Simpereza of Uganda opening at 140 kilograms. He is getting coached by some Americans today, actually. You can see Kevin Doherty over to the side, giving him some cues.
Now, we were talking about his wide grip on the barbell during the snatches. Does have quite long arms, so let's see how he handles this jerk, because that is not an advantage. Oh, it goes to the wide grip there.
You know,
A little shaky.
he looked a little shaky in all phases there. The clean, we'll watch on the replay, the clean looked a little tough, and I was wondering about that, seeing his wide grip on the barbell. One of the taller competitors in this weight category, and he does do that wide regrip, which we see is fairly common amongst South American and also African competitors.
Right, right. What it does is it shortens the distance he has to go with that barbell vertically, and the bar simply just gets over one's head faster. Now, he did look a little shaky, as you said, in my opinion, and somebody who really wasn't a good cleaner. Now, jerk, I made all my jerks. Missed a lot of cleans, though, so coming from a perspective of somebody who wasn't overly strong, somebody like Sarah Robles is way stronger than I could have ever been. Just a strong individual, and I couldn't make any little mistake on the clean because I simply wouldn't make it. So what happens if that clean is not super efficient and you stand up and you're going into that jerk, unless you have just a very impressive jerk, it often takes a lot out of a competitor. So the clean needs to be cleaner, for the lack of a better term. He needs to be very efficient, because he doesn't need to be wasting all that energy grinding out of that squat, then going into the jerk.
Well, let's see if he has better success on his second attempt. Now, one thing to note, and I think it did plague him a little bit there, that wide regrip reduces the distance you have to move the bar and move yourself under the barbell, but at the same time, it sometimes comes at the cost of shoulder stability. So let's see if he's able to make a correction here.
Correct. Like I said, let's make this clean a little more efficient, and then hopefully I'll have a lot more in the tank for that jerk. Talked himself out of it.
Now, you could tell on his first pull there, the tempo was off.
Tempo was off. He's got too much going on in his head right now. He clearly may be a little bit flustered. Maybe we got a situation where he's cutting body weight and these cleans feel oppressively heavy, and he's asking himself questions. Am I going to really be able to do this? Is it going to feel heavy? Is it going to hurt? Is it going to be painful? He can't allow those thoughts in there. He's got to push that stuff out of his head. He's just got to go out there and just be aggressive.
It's always tough when you come out on the competition platform and that clean feels a bit like near a max deadlift sometimes. So.
Oh my gosh, my coach at the time, Don McCauley, I remember I was at an American Open and particularly out of shape. I think it was after the Worlds, and yeah, just kind of for funsies, I was at the American Open, and one particular clean and jerk. If I could, like I said, if I could get it past my knees, I was usually successful. But that's if I could get it past my knees. So he had time to comment to somebody standing next to him that my first pull was really slow, turned around, and I was still pulling the bar. That's how slow I was from the floor. So I know that feeling, and it's just about hanging in there and, again, getting into the wheelhouse of those hips.
All right, well, this is his third and final attempt. He needs to make this in order to post a total today.
Very important lift for him. Hate to see that. Hate to see it.
Well, he unfortunately will not post a total. Did make 2 snatch attempts, but not successful in any clean and jerks for today. Certainly not the worlds he was hoping for. This is his first world championship. Just didn't quite have it in him today.
Right, and he can chalk this up to really great experience, though. Sometimes at the end of the competition, when you look back, you don't do what you want to do. You got to see the silver lining. He's never been on the international stage like this. He knows what it's all about now. Not going to be taken off guard by any of this in the future when we continue to see him compete, hopefully. And honestly, he'll probably forget about it. I mean, if he has a wonderful performance next year, nobody's going to remember this. So just got to keep heading forward.
All right, and this will bring up his teammate and countryman, Sakaya, also of Uganda, who's opening at 152. We may, I don't think we'll actually be seeing him follow himself, assuming this is a successful lift. We do have some lifters grouped around this kind of low 150s area.
Right.
He was successful with his opening snatch at 117 kilograms, so.
I feel like these guys are going to be in for some really awkward weight times in the clean and jerk here, because we're going to have a lot of attempts at similar weights. Again, super strong, as we saw from the snatches.
Like his teammate, very wide regrip between the clean and the jerk portions. 3 white lights, he's on the board. He will post total today. He is, again, being coached by a couple Americans, including, as we watch this replay, an American coach we have seen on the side of many international stages, and that is Kevin Doherty of Hassle Free Barbell Club.
Right. Very, very, so much knowledge in that guy's head. I told him when I bumped into him, I was like, we got to sit down. You got to show me your ways. Share some of that wisdom with me so I can be a better coach. So really great to see all these faces here.
And, you know, in the spirit of international weightlifting, oftentimes a sport separate from, or as Phil Andrews, CEO of USA Weightlifting, would like to say, above politics in many ways, you will see coaches from some countries, you know, the U.S. being the home country this year. It was pretty easy for Kevin to get down, or up to Anaheim, I guess, relative for where he was going.
Right.
You know, helping out lifters who might not have been able to bring their coaches from their home country.
Yeah,
so
not everybody's coming with a delegation.
Right.
You know, and it's really good to see that hospitality from an American standpoint, that these folks are coming from all over the planet and they're being taken care of and their needs are being met, because, you know, and that's the spirit of the sport. The ultimate competition for Olympic weightlifters is the Olympics, and in that spirit of just participation, and we're all here for the same thing. It's good to witness people sort of transcending those initial barriers and just helping each other out.
Yeah, and it's always fun. I've been fortunate enough to eat in the athletes, one of the athlete dining areas this week, and it's really great to see conversations happen across language barriers, cultural barriers. You know, no one's really confusing me for an athlete this week, but they're still saying hello, which is great. And with that, we bring up the first attempt of Castro of Spain at 153.
Maybe a little rush there.
Yeah.
Maybe a little rush. Maybe to finish that drive, and just the jerk is all about rhythm and timing. You get the barbell flexing like it does at a certain weight, and if you're dip and drive, the timing is at all different than it is literally from the empty barbell. It's usually a recipe for disaster. So he's just got to take his time a little bit and stick that a little bit better. Clean was easy.
Yeah, he is a very, very explosive, quick lifter, and you mentioned yourself, Cheryl, sometimes you get out there and the weight actually feels a little bit lighter than you would expect, and that could be a recipe for missed lifts.
Right.
Sometimes the jerk gets to extension before you expect it to,
Right.
and you lose it because you're too strong.
Right. Right, and sometimes in the back room, there's some technical errors that are happening, and then you go, okay, I need to make sure that I finish my drive on this next jerk, and you do that, plus the adrenaline, and sometimes that barbell's just moving faster than you can catch up with it.
All right, well, we'll see him out for his next attempt at 153. I do believe he will stay here.
Oh, I think I was going to tell a story before
That's right.
before our last break. I was eating my sushi and when I got that world record, but it was as a result of the IWF creating the youth category, so 17 and under, and they went back to credit world records to athletes because they have to establish the world records when you make new categories. Let's watch this clean and jerk and I'll finish up. And he didn't want to take his full 2 minutes, so on the platform early, wants to get this done and under his belt.
much better attempt for Castro.
Much better. Good correction. So they went back in history to see what the world records would be in the super heavyweight category, and they stumbled upon my 125 kilo snatch that I did at the Olympics in Sydney in 2000. I was 17 years old at that competition, so they decided they couldn't find anybody who had snatched more. So 125 kilos, they went ahead and let me have it, so it's a world record now, and I feel like I didn't have to do anything. It was kind of awesome.
Well, you put in the work. It was just a while
Right,
back.
right. I don't remember it, so.
And of course, there has been discussion, especially with, you know, the IWF did introduce last year a new women's bodyweight category, the 90 kilogram weight category, between 75 and now 90 plus, formerly 75 plus. There could potentially be more weight category shifts as we head further and further toward the Tokyo Olympic Games.
Right, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, there has been discussion, especially on the men's side. The men did lose a session at the Olympics, so there will be 7 and 7, 8. So we might see I guess you could call it a recategorization or a recalibration of bodyweight categories across both genders. So.
Right, and I think that's fair. I mean, as the sport progresses, we got to take into consideration a lot of factors, and yeah, sometimes that happens, and it won't be the last time. But I think by the time I get used to all the new numbers, it'll be different again.
All right. We have Taronis of Peru, his opener, 155.
Now, a new thing for me, too, he went right into, he's got the dive technique there, grabbing that bar.
Good looking lift.
Solid jerk. Yeah, that dive technique, you see, I was anticipating maybe a little bit more time over the bar. But Casey Bergner actually tried that out at the training center, and I watched him. And it's really impressive to watch. I think Wes Barnett did that for a while. And
Wes Barnett, who I believe was the most recent American male to medal at a world championship.
Correct, and that was in 1997 in Thailand. I remember that. He had a great event, and yeah, so we're long overdue, that's for sure. I think this will be the competition.
All right, we have Sekaya, pardon me if I'm mispronouncing that. First time I've seen him and commentate on one of his sessions, of Uganda, coming out for his second attempt, 157. Nice, healthy, I guess you could say, 5 kilo jump, which is something we're probably used to seeing in the clean and jerk at this point.
Right. Really powerful guy, really strong. A little bit nervous about that jerk. Not nervous, but it looked like he had a lot of asymmetry there. Maybe grabbed the barbell a little bit differently with the left hand versus the right. But the clean, he's going to blow it away, I'm sure.
You weren't kidding about that clean, Cheryl. He does blow it away. And yeah, a bit of asymmetry like his first attempt, and we'll see it on the replay. He actually does rotate a bit counterclockwise, and we can actually see it on our replay here. He'll rotate toward this camera on the jerk portion, but is able to save the lift.
Right. And that was just pure speculation about maybe the grip being slightly different. I could be wrong about that, but it does actually look like he's got a wider grip on the left than the right, and that is one of the negative things about adjusting the hand so wide. It takes a lot of practice to get precise, because it makes a difference. You got an inch further left on the left hand than the right, and that translates into a lot of kilos.
Yeah.
On one side versus the other. So hopefully he can get a little bit more tight with that.
All right, now we do have a quick break here. It looks like the loaders are cleaning off the barbell, and a big shout out to the loaders. They're moving more weight than anyone this weekend.
Such a tough job after many hours, and these guys are doing, and gals are doing an amazing job.
And a lot of the loaders this week are local athletes. Actually, some have traveled far and wide. I talked to a good buddy of mine, Nick Donzilla, who is a USA weightlifting national medalist who came all the way from Boston. Came out actually a week early. He's competing at the American Open next week, which will be in the same venue, but he came out early to help with loading and other things that USA weightlifting need a little help with. So
always looking for volunteers, and you get the best seats in the house if you're loading, though. That's huge.
You get the best
seats and good lifting.
And something that Chad Vaughn has said on live streams before, he gets a lot of questions, especially newer athletes, who say they have trouble with kilo to pound conversions and don't really understand kilos. There's no better way to learn that than to load a barbell at a meet.
Oh yeah, you get very, very familiar with, and even visually, you'll be able to count the barbell up just by looking at it. Just a quick glance, you know how much is on the bar.
All right, this will bring up the third attempt for Castro of Spain, 157 kilos.
A lot of weight on that front foot, but he hangs on to it. And I think one of my favorite things about competing is what he's experiencing right now, and the absolute relief of just being done. You know what I mean? It's intense, that hour and a half, and putting that barbell down, especially after a successful clean and jerk, and just going, oh.
Well,
it's a really great feeling.
For athletes in these middle or lighter weight classes, it's that feeling, but also the feeling of, oh, I get to go eat now.
Yes. Yes. And as a competitor who ate what she wanted prior to the competition as well, I can only imagine how excited these folks are to get like some In-N-Out burger or something.
All right, Peter Petrov of the Czech Republic, his opening attempt, 158 kilograms.
That's pretty solid.
That was a great looking jerk overhead.
Especially compared to those snatches, you're absolutely right. Definitely is a clean and jerker.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And we mentioned that in the earlier broadcast. He's known to make up a lot of ground during this portion of the lift. And Cheryl, you mentioned In-N-Out Burger. It is something that I've heard since we're in California. A lot of international athletes have been asking about it. And in fact, at barbend.com, we write about a lot of these international athletes, and this is our first opportunity. I have one of our staff writers out with me this week, Jake Boley, and we're meeting a lot of these athletes for the first time, even though we've talked with them over Instagram or over email or over the phone for different pieces of content. And I think we actually might organize a goodwill trip to a local In-N-Out tonight for some of these athletes, and there's probably nothing better to share.
That would be incredible, and I know, yeah. And no joke, it's where I have two friends with me from who have made the journey from Hong Kong to be here. At the invitation of USA Weightlifting, reached out to Olympians and things like that. Like, hey, you want to come on down, bring some friends? So I let some of my athletes know, and here they are. But that's exactly where we're going for lunch. So I'll let you know how it is.
All right, with that, we will bring out the opening attempt of Abdul Halib of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, opening at a pretty robust 160 kilograms. And you had mentioned earlier the oscillation of the barbell between the clean and the jerk. On the men's barbell, 160 kilos is where you really begin to see that.
Right. And again, these gentlemen are 69 kilos and lighter. And I can say 160 kilos is pretty heavy.
Well,
hopefully that wasn't a psychological thing. Maybe he just got a little out of position and realized that maybe it was unable to bring that back for the second pull. Let's see what happened on replay.
Pretty aggressive lean back there, and I wonder if that might have put him out of position.
Yeah, it looks like it really does look like he just lost his timing there for a minute. And sometimes, if I would come off the floor with the barbell and I knew it was either got stuck on the platform in a certain spot or it's just anything was off, sometimes, I mean, obviously you want to make the attempt on the international stage and, pull and pray, as you said. But sometimes you just know, as an athlete in your experience, that there's nothing you can do but put it down and try it again.
All right, and this will bring out the opening attempt for Brandhuber of Germany, who had a very close miss on his third snatch attempt.
Yeah, and we saw him grabbing his back a little bit, so hopefully he doesn't have any residual pain there in the lower back. That overhead position, I don't know. Maybe got a little dizzy there. We'll see. Let's
take a look at the replay. The clean did look very strong here, Cheryl.
Really easy clean. I was a bit surprised. Even the dip and drive, and once he got the weight over his head, I thought he had it, but maybe something's going funny with that overhead position. It was a bit forward, though. Quite forward now that we're looking at the side view.
And it is great. A big shout out to the folks at USA Weightlifting and on the video and streaming team here. We have Scott and Austin who have a great setup here streaming on usaweightlifting.org, and it is really great having a different angle for the replay. So having that multi-camera setup can be insightful, not only for us giving some commentary, but at home you can, if you're a fan of weightlifting, you can see some of the nuances and see some corrections lifters make from attempt to attempt. So having both those perspectives is a real treat.
It is, and as a coach now, I really try to sort of be in that position, that three-quarter view, so you can sort of see just a really great perspective on what's happening in the lift.
This is Marian Al-Duhalib of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for his second attempt. The first attempt wasn't much more than a pull.
Right.
So
we'll be instructing him just to take his time a little bit.
See how this
do
goes.
What he knows how to do. There you go. Yeah, you see that bar bend, that oscillation. Great, pretty good jerk. But yeah, you got the clean together and smashed it. It must have been just a timing issue. That was quite easy for somebody to get sort of psyched out about. I think he just missed his timing on that first attempt.
Yeah. Well, he is on the board and will post a total today, which is always fantastic to see. And that this, as far as we know, is his first World Championship. So with that, we will bring out the second attempt for Brandhuber of Germany, who was successful in 2 of his snatch attempts, missed his first clean and jerk attempt here. So I'm gonna sit back and kind of watch this one. I want to see maybe what corrections or changes he makes on the jerk portion.
Right. There's a lot of different things that could have been going on. So let's see how he handles it this time. Pretty easy again. Maybe he is a bit hurt. He looks like he lost a lot of confidence in that overhead position.
Yeah, we can check on the replay, giving a little more time there on the platform, and sometimes that is strategic to give yourself a few more seconds. Right. Because they don't start that clock until you come off.
Exactly. Let's see here. And that bit of a dip forward.
That right arm drifts behind and begins to bend a little bit.
It does. In the load overhead is so important to do your absolute best, setting up the jerk, the dip and drive vertical, because taking that barbell and moving it forward and trying to get that vertical momentum and get under it is just almost insurmountable. So staying straight up and down is so important. So when he drifts forward like that, it's pretty tough to recover.
And this will bring up the final attempt on the day for Sakaya of Uganda, 160 kilograms on the barbell. Had to fight for his first 2 jerks, and what I'll be watching here, the regrip between the clean and the jerk, and also a bit of that helicoptering at the top. See if he can fight that at this heavier weight.
Which is not unusual, especially for an athlete. I'm curious to know how many years he's been competitive or training. So strong on that clean. Probably load 170 kilos on there. Oh, wasn't able to recover from that at that time.
Well, he will be credited with his second attempt at 157. He finishes the day with a 274 kilogram total.
Never seen it before. That barbell is very heavy and it's resting right on top of the clavicle. Sometimes we get some wounds, a little bit of bleeding just from the rough, the knurling there, and got to clean that off.
Or on the shins on the way up, actually, you will have some nerve. That's actually where I suffered from that more on the clavicle as a weightlifter.
Yeah, super common. Super common. And then, of course, you have the callus tearing that happens with the hands. So, but they're on top of it. Like I said, they're doing a great job keeping everything nice and clean for everybody.
All right, this is a make-or-break lift for Braunhuber. He needs this to post a total today. He's an experienced lifter. We've seen him on the international stage numerous times. Someone who doesn't have a lot of bomb outs from what I can tell. So.
All right, come on. Hold it. Ah.
And while he started off the competition with a great first 2 snatches, he looks like he might be having a little back trouble today. Unfortunately, will not post a total.
Yeah, I think that last snatch that he had, he got way out of position with the early celebration there. Maybe the way you stack up that weight, loaded, your spine, you start wiggling and the hips go forward, like all sorts of things can happen. So maybe he tweaks something. Surprisingly, though, he's grabbing his back. The cleans didn't seem to give him any issue. It's just that overhead position.
Yeah.
So,
which again does put a different kind of force on the spine and the lower back. I'm someone who when I was lifting and still lifting, is just not the same not with the same competitive mindset. I always noticed that if I was having back issues, clean was never a problem. It was always going overhead.
interesting. Yeah, it's very different.
This will bring up the first attempt for Jiram of Thailand.
I noticed I'm always very impressed by the Thai weightlifting team's efficiency in the jerk. They routinely seem to be pretty solid jerkers. So somebody coaching over there has really got a good handle on how to teach that to their developing athletes.
I don't have much to criticize on that lift,
Well, it's
Cheryl.
pretty solid. I know,
really
just
have a lot to
sitting here
say.
being impressed by it. Yeah, 161 kilos is heavy. It is heavy.
If you would maybe remind readers at home, you're actually still the American record holder.
I am
both
at
the
this
snatch
moment in
and the jerk.
time. I have the snatch record of 128 kilos, and I have the clean and jerk record of 161 kilos, and the total record of 287 kilos. Still all Pan American records too, as I believe.
Yeah, I believe that's correct, yeah. All right, this will bring up Terrones of Peru, one of 2 junior lifters in this session. He's had a pretty good day so far.
And completely forgot about that dive technique again. Ooh, there you go.
All right, pretty good looking lift. He
Not
stays
bad at
perfect
all.
in the clean and jerks. He took a 6-kilo jump, which is significant at this body weight category.
It is. It is. That's a huge percentage to go up, and yeah, he seemed to not have too much trouble with it.
Now, some of these big jumps we will see a little later on Monday and Tuesday in some of the heavier body weight categories. You will see athletes taking 8, 10-kilo jumps.
Right.
And, of course, the percentage of body weight of those jumps and actual overall percentage of their lifts is much lower there.
Right. It was pretty routine for me to take 5-kilo jumps, almost minimum, unless, of course, we're going for a particular. And sometimes you find yourself in a position where you could lift significantly more, but you are not because you're jostling for medal position. 2005, when I got 3rd place overall in Doha at the World Championships, great day, felt amazing. Could have clean and jerked a heck of a lot more, but didn't need to. Just trying to go for that bronze medal. So you do what you got to do on that day.
All right, we have Herrera of Ecuador opening at 162. So he's above your record now.
Nice clean. Wow.
Good looking lift.
Wow, very good looking lift.
Ecuador, also a country that I've noticed, and I was fortunate enough to be on color commentary at the Pan American Championships a little earlier this year in Miami. I don't know if Ecuador missed a single jerk that entire competition.
And that's significant. It really is. The more I think about how proficient he was at the jerk. Now, that being said, I missed my fair share of cleans. It really was a relief to be able to stand up from a clean and just know that you're getting ready to make this lift.
Yeah. All right. I'll do Halib his final lift of the competition. This would move him if he makes it to 4 for 6 on the day at his first World Championship. So let's see if he's able to make this.
Oh, no.
Similar to that first attempt, just not really able to commit to that clean.
That's unfortunate because the clean that he did make on the second attempt seemed quite strong.
Well, I'm sure we'll see him again on the international stage. You know, like I said, had some missed lifts, but overall was able to post a total solid performance in this session.
Nothing to sneeze at. He got some good lifts in. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing more out of him.
This will bring up the lifter. Looks like it will be Herrera. No, we do have a change. It will be Petrov of the Czech Republic. It's been a while since we've seen him on stage, and that is another thing that lifters have to deal with in international competitions. A lot of changes, a lot of jockeying for position. They might have to take some more lifts in the back in the warm-up area to stay warm between their attempts.
Right, whether it's a full clean and jerk, which does take a lot of energy, so it really depends on how long the weight is. But some athletes are just going back there and just grabbing the barbell and doing a heavy pull or two just to stay nice and sharp, because you can get quite cold quite fast. All these first pulls and things like that, and the difference between the makes and the misses. Again, he had such a solid clean and jerk on the other attempt, and again, maybe it's a result of that rest time.
Yeah,
you know?
Certainly. It's you know, maybe the pull stays strong, but you start feeling a little bit of tightness. Maybe the hips start getting a little tight, the quads get a little tight.
This room is very well air conditioned. It's a little chilly in here. I got my jacket on. Anybody who knows me personally knows that I'm warm most of the time, but it's a little chilly in here. So these athletes, they're sweaty. They got these singlets on, and when you sit for any length of time, you can cool down fast.
All right, Jerem's second attempt, lifter from Thailand. I'm really looking forward to seeing his jerk here, something we noted on his first attempt, real strong overhead.
Real strong clean, too. Pretty solid.
Maybe not as sharp as his first attempt, but that'll be good for 3 white lights.
Little softer receiving the bar overhead, but the position was good enough. He's probably telling himself he needs to be a little bit more aggressive. Snapping under the barbell and sticking it.
Well, so he still has 1 attempt remaining, so we will see him yet again. And with that, it looks like the lifter will once again become Tirones of Peru. Had a few changes on the board, so apologies if we're a couple seconds behind on
yeah, it's bouncing around a lot here. I'm just looking at these blinking lights. We got the scoreboard in front of us that we're looking at, and yeah, one name lights up, and then it's the next name, and sometimes we got to just wait and see what happens. There's a lot of numbers being thrown around in the warm-up room, but it looks like Tirones is coming out for his third and final attempt in clean and jerk. He'll be 3 for 3 in the clean and jerk with this lift.
Yep, and this is actually to go 5 for 6 on the day, which would be a pretty solid performance, all things considered.
That's a great performance. That's great. That's nothing to be disappointed about. And what I did note, David, the other day is the rule change about the knee bands and the socks in the lifting suit actually being able to come in contact. Typically, or historically, the singlet could not come in contact with those knee bands or those socks. So it's interesting for me to adjust visually, because it just stood out. I was like, wait a second. Tight, tight, tight. That's a great save. That's a great save. His center of gravity is over his head, so if anything is a little bit off, fighting and pulling that barbell back into position is really, that's a really, really great fight. Glad he stuck that.
Yeah, let's check out the replay here. He had to fight for it and a little bit of turning, had to bring those feet in line. But 5 for 6 on the day, really great performance. 294 kilo total.
Again, it's pretty impressive for me, watching a lot of, not struggle, but definitely using a lot of energy in that clean and then being able to get some air and have enough in reserve to make the jerk happen as well. Did not look confident over that barbell. Kind of see it in his face. Sometimes an athlete takes like an obvious amount of time, extra amount of time over the barbell, and you know he's having a conversation with himself, and unfortunately he wasn't able to talk himself out of not cleaning the bar. So, but that happens sometimes. He's credited with what's his first attempt there? 158 kilos. So he got that clean and jerk in that first one, so that's definitely a good thing.
Well, with that, we only have 3 lifts left here in the men's 69 kilogram B session. Just a quick preview of the rest of the day, folks. We'll have 3 lifts left here, and then Cheryl and I will be going off air. Action will resume with the women's 63 kilogram B session at 2 p.m. Now that will be for those outside of the U.S. And those in territories that do not have a different broadcast deal. We'll still be live streamed on usaweightlifting.org, but for folks within the United States, that will be streamed on ESPN3. So there will still be live color commentary, a lot of great action in that women's 63 kilogram B session, just maybe on a different channel. And then a little later on in the day at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, we have the women's 53 kilogram A session, and then at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the women's 58 kilogram A session. So still lots of action yet to come here in Anaheim.
Looking forward to continuing seeing some great weightlifting. This is a bit of a bigger jump too, especially in the clean and jerk. Well, becomes obvious why. That's pretty solid.
That's a good looking lift.
Very good looking lift.
67 is good for Herrera. I was cutting him 10 kilos short there.
I know, give that man his 10 kilos. So fast with that second pull. A lot of people spend too much time, I think, pulling the barbell vertically instead of concentrating on getting under. Now there's that delicate dance, finishing the pull and still changing directions. So it takes many repetitions and many years to get very good at that timing, but he's got it locked in.
And with that, we only have 2 lifts left. Again, if you're used to tuning into USA Weightlifting national competitions, the sessions often tend to be a bit bigger, but we only have only 9 lifters here in this session, so things tend to move a little quickly. We're not having one of those 2.5, 3 hour sessions that we sometimes get, so makes our lives a little easier in the commentary booth.
And again, not a lot of 2-minute clocks because a lot of similar weights here. So it's moving along nicely. Let's see what Jerome has. Strong legs, strong legs.
And Cheryl, you might want to speculate a little bit as to what might have happened there for Jerome of Thailand.
You know what? I really have no idea. There is the chance that he simply just got really dizzy and needed to drop that barbell. Your carotid arteries in your neck there, if that bar lands on those at the same time, you can black out pretty fast. You don't have enough oxygen going to the brain, obviously, so he could have felt that and knew it was probably time to let go of the barbell, because sometimes we see people trying to fight that sensation and collapsing underneath that barbell. So he probably just cut his losses, because he had a solid jerk. So he's credited with, let's see here, his 164 kilogram jerk.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good.
And with that, we will have the final lift of this men's 69 kilogram B category. It is the final clean and jerk for Herrera of Ecuador. And folks, we'll give a quick outro, but after this lift, we'll give a quick outro. But in the meantime, just want to say thanks so much for tuning in. It's a lot of fun to bring you the action live from the Anaheim Convention Center this morning and early afternoon, Pacific Standard Time. Of course, for some folks on the East Coast of the U.S., this is a nice little bit of afternoon viewing.
Oh.
Well, that'll be a no lift for Herrera. I'm glad he snuck out from that under that safely. And that's it. That will end the session.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me, David. You know what? I'm looking forward to being here for a couple more of these throughout